What's up, everybody? I'm Red Cloud Gamer,
And I'm the Green Sween,
and
and
this
this
is
is
NSX
NSX
Gaming.
Gaming.
We know we missed an episode this week. Life's been a bit hectic, so we're bringing you a special shortened video focused on the upcoming Game Awards. We're going to throw in a few awards of our own for good measure. You got anything to say before we throw these up?
Yeah, we're just gonna call this an NSX Mini. No.
Oh, man. An NSX Direct Mini? Is that what's going on here?
NSX Partner Showcase.
You're going to get a suit or something, man.
I
Stop it.
was gonna say, are we liable for that? I don't know.
No, I hope not. All right.
Or
So first up, uh, we've got
the
Best
Game
Art
Awards.
Direction.
Yeah.
So, Best Art Direction is for outstanding creative and/or technical achievement in artistic design and animation. And we've got what five nominees from the Game Awards. So you've got Final Fantasy VII remake. I'm sure we're all familiar with that one.
Yeah.
Ghost of Tsushima, which honestly, it's an absolutely beautiful game. Hades, I would prefer not to talk about. I didn't actually like it. Ori and the Will of the Wisp, a sequel to my 2015 Game of the Year. And my favorite game of this year so far, The Last of Us Part 2. You got
I
anything
just
to
want
say
to.
about any of these?
Yeah, I just want to comment real quick on the Hades thing. First of all, is that I didn't mind the game. I thought it was an enjoyable game. I just, uh, I got Game of the Year nominations. I thought that was a little crazy.
Yeah, well, you got to
Uh,
throw in the token indie game, like
eh,
whether it deserves to be there or not. They throw one in every year, and I'm the same way. I don't think that it's a bad game. I just don't like that it's up here in any of the nominations for like Game of the Year.
right. No, I understand. I'm definitely not knocking it. I just,
It's getting too much praise. That's
yeah, that's where I'm at. But oh man,
so best art
all great
direction.
games. I was really torn between Ghost, Ori, or The Last of Us on this one. Um, Three great games I thought for that. Not that Final Fantasy isn't up there too in Hades for their genres, but I'm more familiar with Ghost in The Last of Us as most people are, but I think at the end, my vote really goes to The Last of Us Part 2 on this. I remember watching both you and my friend play through this game, and I thought it looked incredible. I
Yeah,
mean, when we talked about it, and it felt like we were watching a next gen game early on. I mean, that was our big comment on that.
yeah. I mean, that's kind of always how Naughty Dog games are. They're always able to push a lot further than everybody else is, and I probably would have went with you. And if this was just strictly graphics, I'd be more willing to say The Last of Us Part Two. But being art direction, I have to go with the artistic direction of Ori. It's honestly one of the most beautiful games I've ever played. I recently upgraded my TV to a 4K 120 hertz TV, so playing it in 4K 120, it really brings everything they put into making this game like a living painting out. And I can't wait to see Moon Studios do more. I
Yeah.
hope that there's not 5 more years before I get another Moon Studios game.
I mean, that is a very strong second for me personally. But when I think of art direction, when I see that word direction, I think of which way it's going. And I mean, Ori definitely has gotten some graphical improvements from one to two, but The Last of Us Part Two, just a jump, I feel like was more significant in my eyes personally. But everybody's entitled to their own opinion, and that's the beauty of it. But I thought Ori was a strong two. I love the direction Ori has gone as well.
All right, so what's next? Next we have what did we pick?
What do
Performance.
we got?
We have best performance. Best performance is awarded to an individual for voiceover acting, motion, and/or performance capture. Before I even get into the candidates here, I just think it's so awesome that we've gotten to the point in gaming that these people can convey their emotions between their voice and the animators really bringing the characters to life to a point where they put up performances that really rival like the big budget movies with amazing actors. Uh, what do we got? We got of course we're gonna start out with The Last of Us 2. So you got Ashley
Yeah.
Johnson as Ellie, and she had an amazing story. I know a lot of people harped on the story; they didn't like the things that happened, but seeing her, break from character and do things that were kind of against who she was on her journey for revenge and how it affected her. The scenes when you see her, there's a scene, I want to say day 2, where Dina has to help her take her shirt off after she's just been in a hell of a fight, and they're just the emotion in the moment. Even when it's silent, you just see the look in her face. Like, she really brought out something that not a lot of games have reached. And the closest I would say is going to be Laura Bailey as Abby, as our second nominee here. I thought that the story for her was great, being a little parallel to Ellie, as you see Ellie spends her 3 days, trying to get revenge for this horrible thing that happened to her. And Abby's 3 days are after she's already gotten her revenge for the horrible thing that's happened to her. So it really shows two sides of the coin. And I thought Laura Bailey did great. You've got Daisuke Tsuji. I don't know if I said that right. I hope I did. As Jin Sakai in Ghost of Tsushima. This one's kind of tough for me because I didn't finish Ghost of Tsushima. I stopped actually pretty early on because Digital Foundry was talking about how it was likely to get a PS5 patch and it would run a lot better, and I was really eager to play it at its best, so I held off. What I saw, he has a really good performance, but I didn't see enough to say that he does better than Ashley Johnson or Laura Bailey. I'm going to skip Hades with Logan Cunningham because I didn't like the game that much, and I don't think that anyone in that game did a performance that compares to The Last of Us Part 2. Granted, I didn't finish it, so shoot me if I'm wrong. And Najee Jeter as Miles Morales. I actually just finished Miles. We'll be talking about it on the next podcast.
Yes, we will.
It was a really fun game. I thought it was a pretty good performance, but there wasn't a lot of range from him, and that's not a knock on him. It's just like the story didn't call for it. It was a very fun and humorous story that had some emotional beats later on, but nowhere near the emotion that you got from The Last of Us. So I'm going to go back to those two for my vote. And this is tougher than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
If I really had to choose between them, which obviously that's what I have to do, I'm going to have to go Ashley Johnson.
You're
can't
going Ashley
say.
Johnson.
Yeah. Ellie just, I don't know, man. She blew me away. That performance, it was, I played that game a little differently. Most games I like to play straight through as much as I can, and that was a game that on, like, every major moment, like the end of a day, I would just turn it off. I'd be done for the night, and I'd sit there and reflect on what I saw and what happened and how it affected the characters. And Laura was phenomenal. I'm not going to knock her, and if anyone says Laura deserves it over Ashley, I'm not going to argue with you. But my vote goes to Ashley. I think it's more because of the effect it had on Ellie, and I already have an emotional attachment to that character from the first game.
Well, my selection actually is Laura Bailey. And here's my reasoning for it is that you could really go Ashley Johnson or Laura Bailey. I feel like you have to go one of the two. Honestly, I mean, everybody's entitled to their own opinion, but I feel like a majority of the gamers, The Last of Us was just breathtaking. I mean, the story was breathtaking, and part of that is the voice acting. Little trivia question: you know how Laura Bailey originally got into voice acting, where she started?
I don't actually.
She made her debut in Funimation, the Funimation dubs of Dragon Ball Z as young Trunks, Kid Trunks.
I did not know that.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that's pretty cool to have that little connection. A
But
bunch of my friends are big into Dragon Ball, so if they don't know that, I'm gonna bring that up in just random conversation. Seem cool.
Yeah, right. so here's my separation. Here's what makes it, because I thought they were both great in their own ways, and they did a phenomenal job, and it couldn't have done better for either character. My difference for this is Ashley Johnson is doing a character that she's already familiar with. You know what I mean? Ellie had a defined personality coming into this game pretty much. Even though there's different circumstances and the emotion is still played beautifully, but Laura Bailey is taking on an entirely new character to the series. And the fact that we hated this character so much for reasons I'm not going to say, but we found, a lot of people found a way to hate this character, but then by the end of the game relate to this character, maybe not even like the character, but at least understand where the character is coming from. To have emotions change throughout a game like that about a character, I think that's powerful, and I think a powerful part of that is the voice acting.
Yeah, I mean, to do that, you have to have two parts. You have to have really good writing, which, regardless of what anyone says, the game did have, and you have to have really good acting. If you have a bad
Yeah.
actor or bad writing, I'm not going to like your character. It's that simple. They came together on both ends, and I respect your opinion. Laura did great. Ashley did great. I wish they
Yeah.
could both get this. I wish it could be just best performance goes to two actresses this time.
Right.
I don't know if you saw it, they just tweeted out like another trailer for The Last of Us. I mean, it's nothing new, but it's like a trailer just focused on Abby and her story throughout the game. And I thought it was phenomenally well done. And I hope that it means that they're going to give us some DLC for Laura, reprising the role of Abby after the game, like the first game got the Left Behind DLC.
Well, hold on before you change over real quick. I mean, if you just look at the artwork, or not the artwork, but the pictures here alone for the nominations. I mean, look at the emotion on the first two, and then it almost seems like the next three are pretty blank, clear slated. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Well, I mean,
Right?
I
I
would
mean,
say that Miles is kind of being stoic in that picture. Like, I know the scene.
a little bit.
And
That's the only difference maker I see. And I mean, I
Jin,
understand
like, as
in
a
Ghost.
samurais, they're not really supposed to show emotion like that. They're supposed to be, devoid of emotion and completely ready to just battle.
Right,
So,
but I think that's what separates them, though. Personally,
no, I see what
Ashley
you're
and
saying.
Laura is that right is that they have that step, but they can also be ready for war and serious. But they have that step of emotion that's powerful that really makes you feel, in my opinion.
No, I agree. I definitely
Word.
agree. So,
Well, let's
moving
move on to
on.
the next one. Yeah.
What do we got? We have best narrative. All right. Well, I'm gonna tell you right off the bat. I didn't play the first game here. 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim. I
Me
didn't play
neither.
this, so I can't
Me neither.
I can't say for a fact that it doesn't have a phenomenal story. It's nominated for this, so it has to have a really good story. But I did play four of these games. One of them I said already I didn't really like, Hades. Final Fantasy
Right.
VII. I like the story. I like the stuff they added because obviously they're breaking Final Fantasy VII into multiple games. It's not just the one game we had 20 whatever years ago. But they added a lot of stuff that didn't just feel like filler. They added stuff that felt good, and I'm happy to see it up here, but it doesn't win. Uh,
Right. No,
Ghost
I
of
agree.
Tsushima. Again, I didn't finish it. I enjoyed it. I know more of the story than what I've played, because a couple of my friends have been, I don't know, jerks enough to spoil it.
Right.
Any of you that are listening, you know who I'm talking about. But for me, the best narrative this year of the games that I played. Don't do that COVID cough on my video, man. Don't do that. What was
At
that?
least we're not in person. It doesn't count.
Oh, right. Okay. All right. Yeah. My vote has to go to. I told you my favorite game of the year is The Last of Us 2. The story was great. I know a lot of people harped on it because of some decisions they made with characters that people already loved. But I loved how the story played off the first game. Obviously, if you've played the first game, and I think we can talk freely about the first game at this point, it's been out for 7 years. I think it won like 200 Game of the Year awards back then.
Right. By the way, you
You
can
know,
slap my check mark there on there as well. So you can do that while you're talking. Slap me down for Last of Us Part Two, please and thank you.
slap me down, he said. There we go.
Please slap it. Let's see how close we put those check marks. Oh, isn't it ironic? You're the Xbox guy with the red check marks, and I'm the green guy with the green. But it's our names. So I
Yeah,
mean
yeah,
that's
it
kind
just
of.
fits. But in the first Last of Us, you had Joel is a guy who starts the game, a loving father, uh, goes through a monstrous amount of emotion in the first 10 minutes as he loses his daughter to a soldier, uh, who's being told to shoot everybody because of a crazy outbreak. And then it skips 20 years, and you find him like a lost, broken man who's just kind of going through life. And then he reluctantly takes on a job of transporting Ellie to someone. And over the course of the game, the banter between them, the bond between them grows, and she essentially becomes his hope, his second chance at living a real life. Like it gets him unstuck. So at the end of the game, when he's faced with the choice of trying to save humanity or saving his essentially surrogate daughter. He makes the choice to save her. And playing the game, it seems like the logical choice. You've grown this emotional attachment to her, and the world's already used to, craziness. And you're probably thinking, hey, you know what? Someone else will end up immune at some point, so you're not going to take her. But when you think about it in the grand scheme, to everyone that he kills that day, to all of those people, to all of their families, he's the villain. It's like he didn't do some great heroic act in that moment. So seeing the second game say, you know what, we're going to play off exactly that moment. We're going to say that set up someone else. And essentially the whole eye for an eye makes the whole world blind type deal. Where you get this Last of Us 2 where one character gets her revenge early on and you see how it affects her, and the other character now goes on a quest for revenge, and you see how that quest affects her and deteriorates her psyche as she does things that she never thought she would do. And the decisions made at the end, I'm not going to spoil. The game's still pretty new. Even though I'm sure a lot of people have played it and beat it, there's a lot more that haven't and
Well, it
likely
was just
will.
on sale, but it was just on sale for Black Friday. So let's not forget there are some newcomers, that maybe kept it a secret long enough for themselves. So
Yeah,
you
and
never
they're gonna
know.
love it. If there was any game that I could erase from my memory today to play again fresh, it's The Last of Us Part 2. I mean, if I'm being greedy, I'd say The Last of Us Part 1 and 2, but it's The Last of Us Part 2. That's the answer.
This game reminded me of being 7 years old again, for the reason of being that I liked watching somebody play the whole game, and I didn't even have to put the controller in my hands to really enjoy the experience. That's the specialty of that game. I mean, that story. You want to talk about maybe the best story? We're talking best narrative this year. That could be up there for the best narrative of the 2000s. Seriously.
Yeah, I mean it's a game that I would recommend the story for like Academy Awards. Like it could go up against the big movies that we get. It's that damn good. And if you don't agree with me, that's your right, but you're wrong. Just like. All right, so I guess we'll skip right to the big one. All
Bang
right.
bang.
So game of the year. Um. Okay, we've
Well,
got
by the
six
way,
selections. Okay.
by
By
the
the
way,
way, let's hear.
you did just say you talked about The Last of Us being your game of the year. You did. I don't know if you caught yourself saying that,
Yeah, you
but
know what? I might as well just put my checkbox up there. We'll wait on yours though. How's that sound? That's what we'll do. You're right. I did do that. So
I just wanted to point it out.
I think that was kind of a given. Anyone that knows me knew that The Last of Us Part 2 was getting it. I have a friend that played the hell out of Last of Us Part 2 and Ghost of Tsushima, and he told me that I'm 100% wrong. That when I finish Ghost of Tsushima, I will change my mind. But I haven't finished it, and honestly, The Last of Us Part 2 I loved so much, I don't believe any game could knock it off my top right now. So the other selections, you've got Doom Eternal, which I thought Doom and Doom Eternal were great games. Seeing the franchise come back to prominence is awesome. Graphics are amazing. I mean, if there was a just flat out best graphics and not art direction, I would be blown away if Doom wasn't in that conversation.
And
Um,
I think another factor about this, by the way, is we don't even see this game on the Switch for another 4 days, which that could be a factor, dude. To see a game like that run on the Switch too, like how Doom did
yeah,
originally.
Doom actually did solid on the Switch. I was really surprised. I mean, the resolution is obviously significantly lower, but it ran much better than I expected the Switch to run it.
I even got to run it online, and it wasn't too bad of an experience, honestly. Seriously. So
So, my thing is with Game of the Year, I think when you're talking about Game of the Year, you need a game that is mostly flawless, that has exceptional quality at every facet, really good graphics, regardless of art style. It doesn't have to be like crazy photorealistic graphics. It can be artsy graphics. It can be pixel graphics. It has to have a really good art style to it. It has to have a good story. It has to have really good gameplay, and it has to be something that I continue thinking about after I finish it. Doom didn't do that for me. Doom looks really good, it plays really good, but I can't even remember the story from either of the games now.
right.
I just know, like, I'm Doomslayer and I'm slaughtering people, and I mean, you really are slaughtering. Like, if anyone listening to this has like kids, don't let your kids play it if they're like, squeamish. If they're cool like my kids, let them play it though. My kids can play.
Anybody in the Nintendo community understands how funny it is to see Animal Crossing and Doom both up there for Game of the Year. They were
Yeah,
supposed to release on the same day on Switch too. Like it was just such an odd release of both Doom on the Switch and then Animal Crossing. But obviously Doom didn't come until 4 days from now. But 4 days from now, so you know.
yeah. So second
Still
up, we
go to
have
the bank.
Final Fantasy
Yep.
VII Remake. Uh, I thought it was a great game. I'm about to play through it on my PS5 after. Well, first I'm going to Demon Souls and hoping that all of my controllers last, but then I'm going to Final Fantasy VII Remake. Uh, it's a dope game. The only reason I'm gonna knock it out of the Game of the Year uh, competition is at the end of it, I didn't feel like I played a complete game, and obviously I know that it's not finished, that there's more parts to it, but I do think that a game of the year has to feel complete when you're done with it, and this felt almost like it was just a prologue. Like maybe it's
Yeah.
because I know how much more story Final Fantasy VII has, and I know that we really only scratched maybe 10% of the official Final Fantasy VII story, but it just feels like it left so much more, and I hope that we don't have to wait a long time to get it. I mean, I remember seeing the Final Fantasy VII tech demo for PS3, 2005, which ended up not being a game, and then I believe we saw the game 2015, and then it kind of fell off for a while, changed developers. We finally got it early this year. I hope that it's not another 5 year stretch before we see Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2, and I don't think it will be. I think we'll probably see Remake Part 2 sometime this year, and then or 2021, and then it'll release in early 2022. That's my guess. Uh,
Right.
Ghost of Tsushima. Again, I'm at a loss here because I didn't finish it. Like I told you, a buddy of mine is certain Ghost of Tsushima is the game of the year. He said there is no other choice. What I played was great. It's beautiful. It plays very well. Uh, the the graphics, the sound direction. I mean, everything. I really liked how it's essentially an open world game, but it's not like an Assassin's Creed where you're just finding like a viewpoint and then getting everything put on your map and stuff. Like you got to pay attention to the game and like the way the wind blows and different animals like foxes and birds that kind of lead you to where you're supposed to go, and it makes you feel more like you're exploring instead of just running point to point off a map. So it was really good, and maybe when I finish it, I'll come back to this and say, "Yo, I was wrong. Last of Us isn't," but I'm still saying Last of Us. Next
Yeah.
one, the token indie, Hades. No, I'm skipping over
No.
it. It's look,
Skip
it's
it.
a good
Right.
game. It is a good game. I just don't like how much hype it's getting when it honestly is not as good as any other title on this list right
Yeah,
now.
when we talk game of the year, you're talking to me basically when the equivalent of the MVP. That's what you're telling me, okay? So don't sit here and tell me that Travis Kelsey is the MVP. Like,
Yeah,
hold on a
no,
minute.
no, it's
You know what I mean?
definitely not
Just
the
just
case.
just relax. Don't tell me that like it's a great player. You know what I mean? But don't tell me that's the MVP. Don't look at me and say Jared Goff is the MVP. You know, he's having a good year, good enough year, but don't tell me he's the MVP.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
and
Hades is a great game, but I'm not going to sit here and don't tell
I
me
didn't
it's the
finish
best
it. I'm
game
not
that came
calling it
out this
great.
year.
It was good, but it doesn't belong in this category. It
It
got a
doesn't.
token
It's a
nomination.
good game,
I don't like that, but whatever.
right? And no hate
I'll
towards
let
the
you
game.
take
It's a
away the
good
next one, man, because you are
game.
you are my Nintendo guy, and I think you put 1,000 hours into Animal Crossing.
Anybody who knows me knows that check mark's going right there, but I'm going to give my reason for it. You could throw that check mark right there whenever you're ready.
All right,
Um,
that's kind of what
so
I thought. I just didn't want to just do
Listen,
it.
I'm gonna be honest with you. It wasn't that easy for me. I really did put a lot of thought, and I really tried to be unbiased about this. And I thought hard about The Last of Us 2 because, like I said, it really truly is the best story in the 2000s, and I truly feel that way. I watched through the entire game. I'm not at all. I have knowledge of the game. I watched the whole story. I thought personally the move that got a lot of people upset was one of the best moves the game made because it was a very ballsy direction to take, and it really defines the story. And it takes a lot of courage to make a move like that in a game, seriously.
Absolutely.
But so I remember sitting in line at March 13th at the malls 2 days before my job shut down. I remember this to this day, like clearly, sitting outside of the mall, outside of GameStop, and there was 4 other people in front of us. We went at 6:40 in the morning. The store didn't open till 8, and nobody was at the mall. Everybody was just starting to wear masks, and I got the Animal Crossing Switch. I was the last person to get one. They had 5 in the store, and there was 30 people behind me, by the way, by 8 o'clock. I was so excited. My buddy didn't even get one. We had to go to Best Buy and wait in Best Buy's line, and then we ended up getting one for my buddy, and he got like the 4th to last one. So week later, we get Animal Crossing shipped to the house. I waited an extra day because I ordered it from Best Buy, and I got the little bell bag. But
Right, I got that.
yeah, so dude, and then like next thing you know, we're in a shutdown, and this game
Was
really
perfect for a
was.
shutdown.
It almost felt like Animal Crossing hit somebody up and was like, "Yo, we need a shutdown to release this game. Let's do it."
Conspiracy theory, Nintendo created Corona.
Yeah, right. Well, but seriously, all jokes aside, it was just so fitting for the time. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, this game, and then here I am. I wasn't even really a big fan of the series. I played it on GameCube, never played it handheld. To tell you some stats about this game outsold any of its prior games, which, by the way, has broken 10 million twice. Outsold any game in its franchise within 6 weeks, which I understand you get most of your game sales at first, but to outsell the entire, sales of a game in your franchise in 6 weeks is
Yeah.
insane.
And now here we are, what, 9 months
Not to
later,
mention,
and it's close to outselling all of them together, isn't it?
right? We're about probably I think 7 million, something close to that. Yeah, it's getting really really close to outselling the entire series. So, I mean, within a year, and I gotta tell you, dude, I was just telling you the other day. I'm gonna show a little video in the next podcast that I started, doing my fishing collection. I don't time travel in the game. You can play the game however you want. I don't care if you time travel, but I play the game legit. And I started in March, and I started my fishing collection. And you got to catch 80 fish to get the golden fishing rod, but only certain fish are available at certain times of the month. So I made it a goal to just wait patiently, play the game out. And here I am in December catching my last fish to get the golden fishing rod. 9 months of me turning on a game at least to turn on and catch a fish. I've sunk in 540 hours into the game, by the way, but still, not a game even touches it on my Switch compared to that. And here I was, a game, I wasn't even a big fan of this franchise. And I just learned to love it. And I even, going back to work and everything, I still find time to play this game. So for me, I just thought it was really impactful for this year. I thought it was absolutely, seriously like life changing for this year.
Yeah.
Personally.
I mean, I didn't play anywhere near as much as you. I think I only got about 110 hours into it. Me, the lady, and the kids, we all played a little bit. I think Des probably played a lot more than all of us. Not you, but all of us here. I liked it. It's a game that I'm not done playing. Like, even though I don't play it right now, it's something I'm going to go back to and spend another 20 hours with probably next month. And then, I turn it on whenever there's a big update just to check it out, get a couple more, bugs and fish and whatever.
The updates, this is how they're constantly updating the game. And I mean, it's all free. It's no paid DLC. Like, you don't see it too much anymore. There's a lot of paid DLC. But, so real quick, those are our 2 game of the years. Of course, we'll know the actual game of the year December 10th. But there is 2 more things real quick I want to cover before you head out. So would you agree that that's Nintendo's game of the year, Animal Crossing New Horizons?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Well, 3 things actually. And then okay, I agree that The Last of Us is Sony's game of the year. What would you say Xbox's game of the year would be?
Ori and the Will of the Wisps.
Ori and the Will of the Wisp. I say it was Grounded. I thought when you showed me Honey, I Shrunk the Kids as a video game, I thought that was dope.
I like Grounded. I spent a lot of time on Grounded, probably more than I did on Animal Crossing, if I'm being honest. But I didn't include it because it's not finished. It's it's an early access game, so I won't count it in any of these award categories until it's done. I mean, if you wanted to do a best early access game, I'd probably give it to that. Yeah.
Fair enough. I think that's a new direction Xbox is going to head, and I think Grounded is going to be a hit on the Xbox. I do.
It's already a hit. It's got millions and millions of players.
What about the game that was the biggest shocker to you this year?
The game that was the biggest shocker.
Or the biggest shocker in gaming, I guess.
Let's
say that.
The game that was the biggest shocker was probably the shadow announcement of Paper Mario, and it's coming out barely any time after the announcement.
2 months.
the biggest shocker to me it's got to be when Xbox bought Bethesda. I mean, a $7.5 billion purchase,
That's
locking up
unfair.
stuff like Doom, Elder Scrolls, Fallout, Prey. Regardless of what they decide to do with the studio, that's such a massive purchase. Even if they did release their games on PlayStation still, the amount of money they'll make off of that, it definitely changed the landscape a bit in gaming.
So, I thought it would be Paper Mario for the biggest shocker, but I really put some thought into it. And Age of Calamity was only announced in September, and it comes out in November. And for that big of a story to come into Breath of the Wild, by the way, I finished the game, and the story is crazy. We're going to avoid all spoilers on the stream. I think I'm going to do a separate review on that, actually,
All right, that'd
just
be
because
cool.
we've been talking about it for weeks, but I am going to give a little bit of my opinion on the game and not too much cut into it. And last thing we wanted to talk about, and we got to give some love to some developers here, right? How about the most valuable developer, the MVD? Who is the MVD this year, man?
MVD 2020. You know what? I thought about this after we talked about it, and I definitely was leaning towards Nintendo's what is it, EPD, the one that does Animal Crossing,
Yeah.
Entertainment and Planning Division, I think they're called. I can't say them though. To me, it's Insomniac. Sony, bought Insomniac a year or two ago, and then they used the Insomniac purchase to really build hype for the PS5. Look, the PS5 was going to be hyped anyway. That's a fact. And new consoles are always hyped. If Nintendo comes out at the Game Awards and says, "Hey, here's a Switch Pro coming out next year," people are going to go frickin' crazy, just like they did for the Series X last year. But to have a big game helps dramatically. And
Right.
they specifically came out and they showed Spider-Man right away. They showed Spider-Man Miles Morales. Now, there was a little confusion early on. People thought that maybe it was a full Spider-Man 2, when actually it's more of a kind of Uncharted The Lost Legacy or Fallout New Vegas, like a very large DLC, standalone DLC. I just
Right.
finished it. Like I said, we'll be talking about it on the podcast. I loved it. But between Miles Morales hitting PS5 and PS4, they remastered Spider-Man from 2 years ago, which you don't normally see a game from 2 years ago get a remaster, but oh my goodness, does it look good.
Yeah.
And also, I think the game I'm most hyped for PS5, and I have been this whole time, is Ratchet and Clank. Them showing Ratchet and Clank, the way
Yeah.
it uses the SSD, the way it looks, I mean, it looks like a Pixar movie come to life. And I have to give Insomniac most valuable developer because they definitely have built hype for the PlayStation on a level that no one else has built hype for one of these systems. But what's your choice?
So I need you to hold on to your seat for this one, Red Cloud, because I told you I was going to shock you. I told you that I was going to shock you. And I'm going to tell you right now, my thoughts was, in comparison, neither had to do with a Nintendo game. At first, I was leaning towards Naughty Dog, but I put a lot more thought into it. And my MVD, in my mind, is Sucker Punch Productions. And my reason for that is they haven't had a game since Infamous Second Son in 2014. And outside of the Infamous and Sly Cooper series, they're not really highly known. So for them to come out and be on a 6-year hiatus of games and only make two really big series games known, and then to come out and make a game like Ghost of Tsushima and have it be such a hit and have such a great storyline, great graphics all around, the music, and you put yourself up for Game of the Year nomination and you're a strong, strong competitor, out of nowhere, I think it goes to Sucker Punch Productions. And I really would love to see them do something with Sly Cooper on the PS5 after making a game like Ghost. Seriously.
I don't think that they'll touch Sly Cooper again. I think Sony will use Sly Cooper with another studio, but I think Sucker Punch has moved on to a specific style of game. I see what you're saying. I didn't realize it had been 6 years since Infamous Second Son. That game was dope.
Right.
I would stand by Insomniac over them just
And I
because the
respect that
value
too.
of multiple games beats the value of one.
I think, in my head
I
right
like
now,
Ghost of Tsushima, but when it comes down to it, Spider-Man's gonna outsell it. Ratchet's gonna outsell it. Just because as good as Ghost is, samurai stuff doesn't have the type of following that comic books do.
so
And
I
when
get
you're talking about most valuable, I have to consider, financially, what that means too.
So here's the thing that separates it in my head, and here's what would make me be on board with your opinion 100%, is if I didn't feel in my heart that Ratchet and Clank is strictly a 2021 experience. I understand we've seen enough from it to realize it's going to be a good game, but I can't put Ratchet and Clank on that list yet in my head. I can't. I understand you can, but me yet. Like I understand we've seen enough to know it's going to be a good game, but that's why they're a stronger 2021 competitor in my head, personally.
I mean, I guess I see what you're saying. I think when you're talking about a developer, it doesn't matter if they release the game or not. Like the hype around the game matters to me.
Yeah, no,
You
that's
know,
fair.
I think there's a decent
Hey,
amount of people that are buying PlayStations as soon as they can, and it's about Spider-Man and Ratchet for them.
but yeah,
Those
at
are
the end
early
of the day,
titles.
there is nothing wrong with us having a deeper opinion that conflicts because that's what makes our opinions different in life, and that's just what makes it awesome. You know what I mean? At the end of the
Yeah.
day, seriously. So
Well,
yeah,
all right.
I can't
This.
wait for the Game Awards. Oh, real quick, I got a prediction for the Game Awards that I need to say on a live broadcast right now. I think Nintendo announces that we get the Game Boy games coming back on the Virtual Console with the Nintendo SNES, and then you're gonna have the Game Boy games coming. I'm telling you, we'll talk about that more next week on our podcast.
All right. Yeah, I look forward to that.
Yeah.
I uh, I can't wait to see anything big that gets revealed. You know, they had the Series X last year, so what do they have to top it? Hopefully, my hope, we see more Hellblade. We haven't seen it since the Game Awards last year. I'd like to see a little more, especially because Microsoft has not really shown me anything that blew me away on the Series X since Hellblade. So
Yeah.
give me a little bit more and show me, the future of the $500 box sitting next to me. But with that, I'm gonna cut this off. I gotta get in the car and head to work. This will
Yeah.
be posted in a couple hours, hopefully.
I just hope we
YouTube has
actually see
been a little bit.
Cyberpunk come out.
Oh yeah, it's preloaded on my system. That's coming. That's there.
Yeah, good.
But
Good.
hopefully this posts quickly. YouTube has been a little inconsistent with how it's processing videos lately. I don't know if it's just getting overwhelmed or what, but I'm sure by the end of the night it'll be on. So
Awesome.
yeah, man. Red Cloud Gamer signing off. Sween. I'll see you Monday.
All right, GreenSween signing off as well, guys. Later.